You know, and I think that, look, I believe that the president is literally an existential threat to America for three reasons. One, he is a genuine threat to our core values.
Coming to a cable news channel near you, the least anticipated non-summer blockbuster ever, the Joe Biden campaign. Is it just me, or is this a 2016 sequel? Hi, it's Pastor Marty from the Afternoon Drive. Joe Biden, is he awake? Is he giving this speech? And I hate to correct Nancy Botox Pelosi here, because I would never do that, but Nancy, this video of Joe, it's not even doctored. This is the way he was speaking. I can just imagine that progressive youth and millennials everywhere will be drawn to his campaign. You do realize if he gets elected that on Inauguration Day, he will place his hand on the Bible with the help of hospice care, and he will be 78 years old, which means when he completes his first term, he would be 82 years old. Yeah, okay, he really looks up to the challenge. And I know, there are those within the mainstream media that are all upset with Fox News and Donald Trump for insinuating there is something wrong with the health and vitality of Joe Biden. Did that clip not show you exactly what's wrong with Joe Biden? Not to mention, when he talks about Donald Trump being an existential threat to America, he doesn't even have any passion in it. Donald Trump is an existential threat to America. Now, once again, we're getting the same thing we got in 2016. Why, Joe Biden is ahead of Donald Trump by 20 points in all of the polls. And you've even got PMSNBC and CNN and the New York Times saying, oh, even Trump's internal polls are showing he's in trouble. He's in trouble. He won't talk about it. He won't talk about it. He's in trouble. He's in trouble. Anybody remember all of the polls, the internal polls, the external polls, all of the polling data from 2016, landslide for Hillary, the New York Times? Remember them? Remember they had the electability meter and Hillary had like a 200% chance of winning the presidency. Even as election coverage began on election night, she was still at 99.9% certainty she was going to win. And then about 2 hours into the election coverage, it moved down to like 90%. And then 85%. And 70%. And when it got to 50-50, Cenk Uygur and the rest of the young jerks over there at the Young Turks, they went into absolute meltdown mode. They were like, oh my God, Trump's going to win. He can win this thing. So I'm not going to get rattled because I don't believe any of this polling data right now. I just, and Trump's polls, yeah, they got him right around, hovering around that 50 percentile mark. I'm telling you, it's higher than that. And this is the polling data that we're getting after they purposely try to skew the polls away from Trump after he receives 200% negative coverage day in, day out by the lying legacy, corporate, corrupt, mainstream propaganda media. Which means his polling is probably better at like 70% when you actually look at what's happening with this economy. But none of that right now, because here's the thing. Biden hasn't taken any shots yet, really, from any of his Democratic rivals. We'll see what happens in the first couple of debates. And I've got some more analysis on that I'll give you a little bit later into our discussion here. But what is it, according to Biden, when he could kind of stay awake to put together a half-coherent sentence, that makes Donald Trump an existential threat?
And if you wondered about that, remember what happened in Charlottesville. I never thought I'd see that happen in my lifetime again. You had people climbing out of the fields and from under rocks, carrying torches, contorted faces, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile that was chanted in Europe and in Germany in the 30s. Same exact language. Carrying Nazi flags, accompanied by white supremacists, accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan, and confronted by decent people who said, "Not in my city." And what happened? When he was asked to comment on it, he said, quote, "There were very fine people in both groups."
Those evasive, elusive core values. Well, tell us, Joe, what exactly are your core values? Claiming for years that you marched for civil rights, and then it was discovered that you never did. So the way your staff explained it was you marched for civil rights by sitting in Congress and listening to the plight of those wanting civil rights and being sympathetic to the cause. That was how you marched for civil rights. The fact that you just blatantly lied about what happened with regard to President Trump's comments about there being good people in both groups. Donald Trump made it abundantly clear multiple times that he was in no way referring to the KKK or any of the white supremacists or any of the antagonizers that were there to start trouble that day in Charlotte. I've never heard you or any of the Democrats clarify that you are in no way defending the behavior of Antifa, who was also there with clubs and chains and broken bottles, and they meant to inflict pain and harm on the other side. I've never heard you come out and condemn them directly, Joey. What the president did say was there were people on both sides of the argument regarding the Confederacy and its place in American history, regarding the Confederate flag and the statues of Confederate soldiers. That there were people there, not Antifa, not the neo-Nazis, not the KKK, not some black militant power groups, that there were peaceful people on both sides wanting to hang on to their Confederate heritage, and there were good people who look at that Confederate flag and say that is a symbol of oppression, it's a symbol of slavery, we need to be done with that chapter of our history. That's what he was talking about. Sane, rational, honest people know that's exactly what the president was talking about. But this is Joe Biden we're talking about. And it doesn't line up with his core value, because he doesn't have a core value of honesty. He wants to take us back to the Clinton era of spinning. You know, the media used to fawn and orgasm all over itself that Bill Clinton is spinning us. We know he's lying, but he does it so masterfully. Joe Biden, the gaffe machine, doesn't quite have that gravitas, and he hasn't been campaigning long enough or made enough public appearances to really start sticking his foot into his mouth, but he will. He will, and it'll be interesting to see if any of his Democratic rivals, if they want to start climbing up in the polls, if they want to actually be the nominee. I mean, if they're just all auditioning to be his running mate, like Kamala thinks she's a Hottie Harris. I mean, Corey grabbing boys in the men's room, Booker, Beto O'Rourke, the Latino Irish boy, Butt Gig, the openly gay mayor from the thriving metropolis of, South Bend, Indiana. Yeah, because they got an economy comparable to Los Angeles, New York City, America. If any of these so-called other people running for the presidency and the Democratic nomination want the job, want the nomination, want to be able to run against Trump because they've got the ideas and the ideals and the policies to beat him, they're going to have to start chipping at Joe. And let's see what they're going to do. And is Bernie, are you gonna lose it again? Are you progressives going to sit back again? Because really, by Biden doing what he's doing, he's declaring himself as the front runner. He's the guy, the media's behind it. They're espousing these 20-point polls where he's trouncing Donald Trump. They've already picked their guy just like they picked Hillary in 2016. What are you Bernie people going to do? You going to take this one lying down again? Are you going to say, thank you, sir, may I have another? Or this time you're going to rise up and fight back? Are you going to allow Joe just simply to be coronated, or is he going to have to earn this election? Remember, the Republicans and even the media were ready to crown Jeb Bush. It was Donald Trump who eviscerated, that's the media's word, eviscerated Jeb Bush. He immediately went right after the front runner. That's how he got to be where he is, the Oval Office. Who on the Democratic side has that kind of cojones? Do you, Elizabeth Warren? Huh? Or do you just want to be Joe's little teepee girl, the VP? Somebody that he can fondle and sniff, because that's what Joe Biden does. Well, Donald Trump, of course, wanted to respond. And a gaggle of reporters, as he was getting on Marine One, had some questions for the Donald.
When a man has to mention my name 76 times in a speech, that means he's in trouble. Now, I have to tell you, he's a different guy. He looks different than he used to. He acts different than he used to. He's even slower than he used to be. So I don't know. But when he mentions my name that many times, I guess I should be complimented.
Now, actually, what Biden is doing by going after Trump and getting his speech out there before he gave it in Iowa, and 76 times, he went after Donald Trump, and then the speech itself, it was very low energy, kind of a yawner. But, the written speech itself, when it gave the media something to talk about and headlines, and Biden's going hot and heavy after Donald Trump. Well, actually, what Biden's doing by doing that, he's doing two things. It's great PR for him because it shows he's willing to take on Donald Trump. What he's also doing, in case the rest of you demo dummies running for your party's nomination haven't figured it out, he's establishing himself as the front runner, as the presumptive nominee. It's kind of like during the Republican primary when Donald Trump went to Mexico and gave a press conference with the president of Mexico, and right away established himself as looking, he's presidential. He's in Mexico. He's doing something that a president would do. He already started negotiating with other countries and American corporations about bringing our jobs back. He was ignoring the Rubios, ignoring all of that, other than his occasional tweets and thumping that he would give them on the campaign stump speech or at a debate. But Trump started doing things that made himself appear to be presidential, the front runner, the guy. And that's what Joe Biden's doing. Hey, Kamala, you going to let him get away with that? Or do you realize your lot in life is to be middle management and you're just going to be happy for the crumbs when he offers you the job of maybe attorney general, maybe an ambassadorship, depending on how far you rate and how good your hair smells?
No, I'd rather run against, I think, Biden than anybody. I think he's the weakest mentally. And I like running against people that are weak mentally. I think Joe is the weakest up here. The other ones have much more energy. I don't agree with their policies, but I think Joe is a man who is, I call him 1% Joe.
Aaron Burnett, alleged commentator from CNN, said, "It's obvious that Donald Trump is worried about Joe Biden. Look at the tweet storm that went on ahead of his Iowa appearance, and Donald Trump constantly talking about Joe Biden. He's worried." I love how the media still thinks, number one, they get to set the narrative, and that we're just going to fall for it. They've set the narrative that these are what the polls are, and it's inevitable, and we might just as well have the election now because it's going to be President Joe Biden. Why? Because we, the media elite, we say so. We defecate marble, and everything that we say is a holy nugget direct from Almighty above. We, the media, are telling you this is your new president. And then the fact that they think they can still set the narrative of not getting Trump and that he's worried, he's having a meltdown because he knows Joe Biden can beat him in the Rust Belt. Trump is doing what Trump does best. He's trolling and goading and daring Biden. Come on, let's play. Let's play. Let's play. You know why? Because he knows he can give Joe Biden a complete and utter trouncing.
You know, and I think that, look, I believe that the president is literally an existential threat to America for three reasons. One, he is a genuine threat to our core values.
Oh, yes, Joe. Donald Trump is the existential threat. In fact, you went on to say you never in your lifetime thought you would see a president side with our enemies over our own intelligence agencies. Why, he stands with a murderous thug like Kim Jong-un. He defends Putin. It's obvious there was some kind of collusion going on there. Well, we know where the collusion actually was with the Hillary campaign. What about you and the China connection there, Hong Kong Joe?
Joe Biden thought that China was not a competitor of ours. Joe Biden is a dummy. Joe Biden thought China was not a competitor. China made $500 billion over a short period of time against Obama, Biden, and for many, many years, in all fairness to them.
You cannot make this stuff up. Now, let's connect some dots here. Hillary Rodham Clinton, under the direction of Barack Obama, with the help of his weaponized intelligence agencies, FBI, CIA, NSA, Jimmy Comey, James the Clap Clapper, John Brennan, all of them working together, Hillary getting a fake dossier alleging Russian collusion with the Trump campaign, yet it was Hillary who was accepting hundreds of millions of dollars and funneling it through her charitable organization, her little own private ATM, which did favors then and gained access for Russia. Joe Biden denying that China was any kind of a threat, and look at all of the trade we lost under the Obama-Biden administration. Was that an accident? Was that sheer incompetence on the Obama-Biden part? Or was there kickback? Pastor Marty, do you know what you're saying? I do. Because we're now finding out that Joe Biden's son is up to his eyeballs, or was while he was alive, in all kinds of interesting financial money deals with anybody? China. And Joe Biden put pressure on China to make sure you do business with my son. So all of those jobs we lost to China, all of our technology we've lost to China, how much of a kickback did the Biden family get? The Chinese connection. So as much as they've tried to, through a witch hunt and a complete, utter hoax, tried to connect Trump and Putin in a Russian collusion that never happened, because the collusion really happened between Camp Hillary and Russia. Hillary was Putin's girl, which makes Biden Hong Kong's boy. Anybody really want to do a random act of journalism and start digging into that story? Or is that not part of our core values anymore, to actually get to the truth? We just, whatever the demo slob says, that gets taken as fact. And no matter what Trump does that is verifiably proven as fact, it's obviously a lie. Like the fact he beat Mexico with tariffs, and he's beating China with tariffs. You'll never hear it reported that way. That's it. That is my rant for today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for reposting these videos. We're starting to see our subscriptions inch up. We had been losing 1 subscription per day for a week. That has stopped. We've gained a couple back, and it's thanks to you. Please do what you can to share these videos everywhere throughout social media. Just cut and paste the URL above in your browser. Stick these on blogs, anywhere that you interact on social media. Get the word out about this channel. I thank you in advance for that. Make sure that you yourself are subscribing. Tell friends about this channel, and make sure you smack the bell to get notification of my next rant.